Hey guys, back with another video today. As you can see, I'm getting ready for the gym. Gotta get my hair all in order. But yeah, so today I wanted to talk about taking breaks and kind of like, overworking yourself and when do you know when to stop, when do you know when to keep going, and essentially topics around surrounding that. Now, I actually was talking to a friend of mine and he was like saying, "Oh, you should make a video on why it's okay to take breaks, right?" And at the moment or at the time I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great video." But I don't know, I woke up today and a lot of people in my family, they work in the healthcare profession, so they have long 12-hour shifts either in the morning or in the night, and one of them they went off for one of their shifts. And I I was kind of I was kind of reflecting, I was kind of thinking about myself because I was like, wow, like you're working a 12-hour shift, you're doing, intense, life-saving things quite literally, right? And, if you're, for example, on the operating table and you say, oh, you want a break, you can technically have a break, but that may be at the expense of somebody else's, life. And when you look at it like that, having breaks is not necessarily something that everyone gets. It's more of a privilege. Obviously, I think that's not really rocket science, as I said, but it was something I was thinking about and why I kind of changed the topic of why you should take breaks to more of why when to know when to take the breaks, right? Because I think there's a difference between, overworking yourself to the point in which, it's detrimental to your health, detrimental to your everyone else, right? And detrimental to your work, right? I think that's the most important part. I think there's a lot to be said to be working to a point where you have to sacrifice everything in order to get the job done. And I think that's admirable in its own way. I think, and honestly, I was actually looking at a reel on Instagram recently and it said something about, oh, hustle culture is bad, you should be taking breaks, you should be taking care of yourself. And I think that's all great and all wonderful things to, I think that message is important, but I also think that you you shouldn't be caught up in the taking I feel like taking breaks are meant for people who actually work, right? And a lot of us, and I'm not going to point any fingers, I'm going to point fingers at myself mainly. I don't feel like I work to the point in which I need to take such excessive breaks. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean? I think when you really work hard, when you work without distractions, when you work single-mindedly just trying to finish a task and you work intensely, then of course taking a break is absolutely warranted. Your time for your brain to kind of recuperate, time for your brain to kind of be like, okay, you did this hard task, now you actually deserve this time to kind of well, time to kind of just like kind of get back at it. I think that's an absolutely perfectly fine thing. But a lot of the work that we say, and I gotta say work in quotation marks, is not really work, right? Like, for example, I went to the library with my friend the other day, right? Now we did get work done. And I think there was work done, but like I felt like A was not as efficient. Now, not to say that like my friend was distracting me. I think it was actually the other way around. But like the best way I think for a lot of people to work, or at least myself, is where there is no distraction. There is nothing that can take you away from doing the task at hand, right? And that's why I really don't like going to libraries. I don't like working outside of my house just because there are distractions with like other people and whatnot. Now, of course, like there's issues working in your house or like in your room because that's where you sleep, right? You can see my bed over there, not really made, but there's issues with every location. But the main thing I'm trying to say, the main thing and essentially what I'm trying to say is that hard work is hard to come by. Hard work is hard to come by. And because of that, it's it feels a lot, at least for myself, I feel like guilty taking a break because, like, why am I taking a break? Why am I saying, "Oh, I don't need to work anymore" when I haven't accomplished what I set out to do? Why am I taking a break when I know I'm so much capable of? Like I'm more capable of what I'm currently doing. And I think that's the thing that hurts the most, stings the most, right? Because when you take breaks, when you tell yourself, "Oh, let me watch a video," "Oh, what you do that," right? it it's like you're lying. No, it's not even, it's like you are lying to yourself. And that, for me personally, is the worst feeling, because you can lie to other people, big deal, right? Everyone lies to people every single day, right? Our society is built upon lies, right? That's how we function as human beings, right? I don't think there's anything inherently, not, there's obviously issues with lying, but it's like you can't necessarily, I don't think you can make it through life without lying. That's just a hot take. But you can make it through life by not lying to yourself. And I think that's the only person that it really matters to, right? So, with taking breaks, this is going to be a short one as well. Just to wrap it up, I think that, when should you take a break? I think you should only take a break when you yourself, you set out a plan on what you want to do, and you execute that plan, and you execute it to the best, to the top ability that you can at that moment, right? So that means that perhaps somebody in your family may have passed away. That's not good, obviously. But if the best that you could do for that day, if you're like a journalist or you write novels, is write a sentence, then you write that sentence, right? Because obviously there are other things in your life that you have to kind of dedicate your time to, right? Grieving, funeral proceedings. Can't speak today. You know, there's many things that may be encompassing your life that not necessarily is more. Well, I guess you could say, yeah, more important, but you're like, at that point, one sentence may be all that you can do. But at the same time, don't cheat yourself. If you're perfectly healthy, you're fine, everything's going fine, then one sentence, yourself. You know that's not exactly, or not as much as you're capable of. You can maybe write a couple pages. Maybe you can write a whole chapter that day. Then you do that, right? But the more you lie to yourself, the more you tell yourself, "Hey, oh, I can't do this," you're literally just like lowering the ceiling of your potential. And I think that's just so incredibly sad for just people in general, because why are you limiting yourself artificially, right? Like, if you can accomplish more, why not accomplish more? Why are you leaving things on the table? Because when we all pass, because the only things in life are birth, death, and taxes, right? When we pass, when we die, why are, like, when we're on our deathbed, right? Why are we gonna be like? Are we gonna be happy that we held ourselves back, right? Are we gonna be happy that we took so many breaks when we knew we could have gone so much further, or are we going to be happy that we did the things that were tough at the moment, we sacrificed the things that we knew that weren't as important, and we got to the places, or we got as close to the places that we wanted to be? And then at the end of the day, we can at least be proud of the fact that we tried, we got as far as possible, rather than just giving up just because it was easier to take a break in that moment. So essentially what I'm trying to say is, don't take a break if you really don't need it. I could probably sum up this entire video in one word, but yeah, that's it from me today. Well, not today. Actually, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna record some videos, like, of me working out. So that'll be fun. Be my first time doing it with a lot of people. So hopefully it's not too awkward, and hopefully I don't get kicked out. And yeah, I have a couple more videos planned for today. So stay tuned for that. Ideally, I'll get to 3. But until next time.